Welcome everyone to another Alliances Projects platform, which we branded as Journeys to Inspire Pathways to Leadership. This specific platform is an opportunity for existing successful senior executives, whether you like that mantle or not, Tash, is an opportunity to pay forward, right, to the next generation that are entering this industry and will eventually fill your boots. And it's an opportunity for us to give an example authentically and candidly of what a journey to a C-level role in information security and cybersecurity is like. You have quite a different journey to the most, but I don't think there is a normal journey to CISO still, 20 odd years into what this industry is about, you know. So my name's Lee Thomas. I'm the founder of the Alliances and regional director for South Africa. Tash, can you introduce yourself personally and professionally, just for the people who may not be aware? I don't think there's many, but just in case.
Thanks. You pay me too many compliments, and somewhere it feels like a bit of pressure, I will say. Thank you very much, Lee, for having me today. I'm Nastassja van den Heever, Tash, as most people in the industry know me, because I'm 3 surnames in. So I'm the group CISO for FirstRand, and by FirstRand I mean FNB, RMB, Aldermore, etc. as part of the franchise. I have been in this role for a very short period of time, having transitioned my career from, as you know, and we'll get into that a bit later. But personally, new mom, trying to figure out that work-life balance, and just here to maybe hopefully talk to people a little bit about what it takes on the other side of the table, and to hopefully just give everybody some things to think about, whether this is the journey and the career that they truly want. It's definitely not when I first had an ambition to be a CISO of a bank one day. This is not what I understood it to have been, and it's an interesting journey, an interesting role, and would I do it again? Probably, but I would do it very differently. So maybe we'll talk about that a bit today.
Yeah, for sure. It's like the Instagram versus reality, right?
Yeah, there was some fine print I was not clear of. I should have read the fine print.
And how have you got to this point? You're from a professional capacity.
So, I mean, maybe just to start a little bit at the beginning, a little bit about my background is I actually started my career in cybersecurity as a sales professional, and slowly moving through the ranks of just, junior sales, ended up being a sales director for a company. But, my passion was always cyber, and let me say my passion is about people. And I truly believe what we do is saving lives. And throughout that journey, I had a great opportunity to spend time getting to know the industry. So I got to know a lot of customers. I got to meet a lot of interesting people who do this for a living. And I do believe that you have to have a degree of passion for people and saving lives to do this job. This is definitely not a job you don't fall into, and, there's no personal investment. You have to be personally invested in something like this to make it a success. And I had the opportunity to really get my feet wet in all aspects of this game. So I had an opportunity to be part of incident responses for some of these customers, some of them major news reported ones. So it was a great opportunity for me to partner with them and have some hands-on experience. I had an opportunity to deal with a lot of engineers and architects. So that got to give me a good exposure on the type of challenges faced from an engineering level and an architecture. Being a salesperson, you also get exposure to purchasing life cycles and governance committee gates that you would need to do and go through in order to implement a capability. It gives you an opportunity to experience multiple stakeholders. So you don't just sell to the CISO and hopefully that works. It doesn't work that way. You have to bring business along the journey. So it's about understanding the business of a customer, more importantly. So all of these components actually gave me an opportunity to realize my passion, ambition. I had a goal very early on that I wanted to be a CISO one day. I mean, I had a massive goal to be a CISO of a bank. I honestly didn't believe it would be possible, most especially because nobody really transitions from sales into ops. That's the one thing. And then the second component of the conversation is you also want to be given a chance at something that you could possibly be good at, which is more management and leadership. And this role requires you to have a degree of understanding around technology as well. And I don't think you can get away from something like that. So Luckily, about 5 years ago now, if you can believe, I was given an opportunity at FNB to be their CSO, and the CSO at FNB is responsible for cyber and information security operations across the group. At the time, I was appointed just cyber, and at that point in time, I had a lot of experience looking after managed security services, SOC, incident response at my previous organization. And day one on the job, they were like, "Oh, by the way, here's the rest of the portfolio," which included, IAM and data security, etc. And it was really, literally about a hands-on experience. So maybe my journey is slightly less than others, but I was thrown into the deep end and I had no choice but to figure out how to swim. My day one on the job was actually in a war room, if you can believe. I walked in, no laptop. My boss was on leave and I was pulled into a war room. And there's no better way than to do a baptism by fire, which I think is a great opportunity. If anybody ever does a transition onto the side of the table, dive head in is the piece of advice I can give you. The more you get involved, the more you spend time with the engineers, the more you spend time with the technical resources on the ground, the more you spend time in the devil of the detail, the more you learn. You can't shy away from, this is not something I'm comfortable with. It was very little that I was comfortable with, but logic is something that I believe is something in technical resources tend to get caught up in, and you can take a step back. But I digress slightly. So that's how I got into this role. And I was in this role for 4.5 years, making sure that I ran the operations. And that included the bane of most people's existences, which is Active Directory. And if you really want to learn how to get something done, you have to figure out how to live through the grueling Active Directory. And after years of strategy and delivering successful projects and showcasing some culture change at the organization, they believed I was ready for the next step.
Amazing, amazing, and it is an interesting one. Obviously, I've worked with many CISOs now over the last 11 years, since I was making mojitos in a restaurant, right? And a better time in my life, I must say. But the exposure is clear to have helped your development into where you are at the moment. The exposure to the circumstances, the areas of information security and cybersecurity. One area you didn't mention there is sort of academia and certifications. It's an interesting one and it fascinates me. We've got a lot of partnerships with a lot of certification companies ourselves, and information security is, I don't know, really on board from a culture standpoint of that continuous learning through certifications. Is there any, I suppose from a practical standpoint, is there any real quality certifications that you did along your journey that you've been able to apply into your way of thinking, into your way of project management, into the way of conducting yourself in the role? Is there any certifications you would highlight that have been really beneficial outside of bolstering the CV, which a lot of people do with the certs, right? But is there anything that stands out for yourself?
Yeah, so I think, like I speak to my situation is slightly unique in that I didn't jump into this as a dedicated cyber person. I jumped in as a salesperson. I
Mm,
think some of the
mm,
certification that's definitely helped me is management and leadership courses. The reason for that is because it
mm,
teaches you how to engage with not just staff, but it teaches you how to manage up the line. And a big part of this role is managing a narrative. So
mm,
what is the comfort or the assurance level of cybersecurity? You need to be able to translate the cybersecurity risks into a business language. Business doesn't understand what we do, and you have to be able to translate that narrative. So, learning how to communicate at that level. Another course which I think is critical thinking. People tend to panic at the first alert, and you have to really be
mm,
able to play the narrative down. Something else I did do was I did a lot of technical certs. So by technical certs is the vendor certifications. That's how I learned. Was I did
mm,
a Juniper cert, I did the 23 McAfee certs back in the day. So I had an opportunity to get hands-on experience, or rather hands-on learning of the actual technologies themselves. That helped me
mm,
enough to understand where it fits into the process flow. Did I do the top certs of every top supplier? Absolutely not. But I did spread across every aspect. So I did data security certs, I did endpoint certs, I did network certs, I did application certs to give me enough understanding about each capability. And make no mistake, cybersecurity is every single one of those. So I do believe you have to
mhm,
do some learning and understanding about the technology. Some other stuff that I think was quite prudent for me was communication skills. And I mean, these are the softer sides
Mm,
of the role. I think what is
mm,
important to understand is the CISO's overarching objective is to change the culture of the organization. It's not to make every single technology strategy, and it's most definitely not to go and engage on the implementation approach. That is what you have your subsequent resources that are supposed to do that, the experts that are designed to do that, right? You need to have enough of an understanding
mhm,
to guide and educate, but you cannot make that implementation approach decision. So I think at this level, your softer skills are really important. Project management that gives you a degree of realism around understanding what that implementation timeline really looks like and how you manage the risk
mm,
conversation. And then lastly, throughout this entire process, after I felt that I had enough opportunity and experience, I decided to do a CISP. CISM probably would have been better suited to my role at the time, but I wanted to get my
mhm,
feet dirty and I wanted to see and test my own capability. I will openly admit I failed it the first time. It is a very difficult
mhm,
exam because it actually tests your strategy knowledge. And I think that that's
mm,
more important here is not just understanding the technology, but knowing how to build a strategy. And that's what the CISP did. But lastly, I think the thing that probably is some of my strongest points is I do a lot of Audible books, and I do a lot of self-starting, self-motivating Audible books, because I believe that,
mhm,
and if any of you listen to Anna from Know Before, she also speaks to having to manage your personal mental state in cybersecurity, and having to manage your personal mental self-starter type mindset, right, and personal ownership. So that's something that was quite good for me. Books like Good Strategy, Bad Strategy, or The Next Five Moves by Patrick Bet David, that was probably one of my best. And then on the self motivation side, people might judge me a little bit, but I listened to Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, for those of you that don't know, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, and Kevin Hart. The Decision was probably one
yeah,
of my two biggest books. Yeah,
amazing. I imagine people are like this,
I don't know.
or
People are
searching
probably
all
like
these books to pick them
Kevin
up.
Hart, Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent.
Get rid of.
Yeah, it's nice to
Hey, at least there'll be
they summarize.
entertainment there, right?
Mm,
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. I think people forget success doesn't just happen, right? I think people position themselves and kit themselves up for success, and that includes the entertainment industry, right? So I want to highlight, you are a success story in the industry, whether you like that or not. In terms of the next generation or listeners that may be interacting with this with this recording here, is there anything that you would like to say to possibly manage their expectations as they progress through this industry? There's a lot of setbacks, right, that happen in the industry along
mhm.
the way, and in anyone's career path. I made myself the boss because I wasn't progressing quicker any other organization that I was in, right? Um, I think I'm quite good at it, but I'll judge myself. But no, from your standpoint, is there anything that you'd like to say to manage expectations for people on a similar pathway to yourself then?
Um, so a couple of things. I think a lot of people in the industry that say CISO is the role, is because they see it as a progressive up movement, and that's an
Hmm.
assumption that that's the next phase of the ultimate place to be. I think what people don't understand is what that comes with, right? It's not just coming with, oh, you're going to look after strategy. It comes with an inordinate amount of personal pressure on you as an individual to be the complete be all and end all decision maker. And I don't think
Mm,
that you have the luxury of not being correct. I think that pressure of being 100% right all the time is something you have to understand. The pressure that the buck stops and starts with you. There's nobody else. You don't get to say, oh, but networks didn't do it, or oh, but this person. That's not an option that you get to answer to. Um, at the end of the day, you are the be all and end all decision maker for that organization. So, and you are affecting people's lives, whether you're looking after a bank, which is their money, or whether you're working in a manufacturing plant, which affects other people because you're manufacturing products for other people, or whether you're at an
mhm,
energies and utilities company. you are the person that is responsible for impacting millions of people's lives, and you have to be aware of that in order to take the job seriously enough to be passionate about it. The other component of this is you need to be a good communicator to be successful in this role, and not just a good communicator and selling a BS story. I'm watching my P's and Q's, but we all know what BS stands for. You need to
Very
be
kind of
able
you.
to do that with a sense of humility and sincerity, because that's what even if you fail, you have to go back and take that failure accurately, and with humility.
Mm-hmm.
And you also need to be in a position where you can not panic. You, of all people, is the last person that is allowed to panic in a situation, in a scenario, irrespective of what this means. You have to be cool and calm and collected at every point. And if you are somebody that takes extreme ownership, irrespective of whether you're a personal assistant or whether you are a senior security analyst, if you take personal ownership of jobs outside of your framework, so if you're an endpoint engineer, but you take personal ownership of ensuring that a networks project gets implemented, that's when you will start to see an opportunity to progress yourself, because you'll be making your voice heard in an organization, which means that you're somebody that people will pay attention to. You will be passionate enough to show that this is something you have an ambitious drive for, and you will take ownership of going to ensure that you get a seat at the table. That includes getting yourself skilled up. It includes getting yourself certified. It includes making yourself heard at the table. It includes putting your hand up. And that's what I would say is probably manage expectations. If somebody like me who's in sales was able to get to the side of the table, I believe anybody anywhere is capable of doing it. But you have to have a passion for the job. You're not going to do it if you don't have a passion. Unless you're lucky, but I want to
No,
meet that lucky guy also. He's probably the same guy that
yeah,
wins the
no,
lottery.
exactly. Not many of those. No, you're imposter syndrome, right? I think this is. I was quite shy when I first came into telesales. Coming into the summit organizing piece, and I read a lot of books about pushing myself outside my comfort zone and being comfortable with that discomfort. Some people sort of assume that doesn't happen to successful people. Again, on our managing expectations piece, is there times when you felt or being able to push yourself to feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations and environments along the way?
Sure. Let me say it to you the other way. Like I said, one of my big books is Kevin Hart's The Decision, and in there, his one-line is, "You need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable." If you find yourself in a
Mm,
space where you're comfortable, then you're not doing enough, or you're gonna get
mm,
complacent. So I am not one of those people that's adverse to change. I thrive in change. If things are stagnant for too long, I get
mm,
uncomfortable. Um, that does not mean that I don't suffer from imposter syndrome. I can tell you, for every part of my career, including today, I don't feel capable of doing the job. I don't feel like I'm ready to do the job. And I don't believe that anybody is ever ready to do the job until you're in the job and learn to gain experience. I think it's the same thing with anything in life. I thought I was ready to be a mom until I had my daughter. I'm not ready. I don't think anybody's ever ready. um, but the more you do it, the more you learn to get ready, right? The more you gain experience in anything, the more you get to do it. And nobody
yeah.
gains experience by doing day one of the job. You have to do the job to gain experience. So I think you have to learn to live with being uncomfortable. If you start to become comfortable, it's time to change. It's time to move on.
Mm,
You shouldn't ever be comfortable. And like, you can live in that comfort for a little bit, because obviously you're chasing a goal, but the comfort should come in the process of achieving that goal, not in reaching the goal. Once you've reached the goal, what's the next goal? Um,
mm,
my best friend and I follow a mentor. You reach for the moon, and if you land on the stars, it's still great, but we're not going to stop reaching for the moon.
mm.
So that would be my,
Yeah,
my piece
I
of
love that.
advice. I suffer from imposter syndrome every day. I don't believe that I'm capable. I get very uncomfortable with being honored by situations like this, where you keep telling me I'm a success story. I understand what it looks like from the outside, but on the inside, the journey to get you, I still feel like I'm nowhere near ready to do the job and have this responsibility. But I'm here now, and I don't have a choice. Somebody has to do it. So yeah, I think it's just a
Exactly.
mindset and
That's
an
amazing.
attitude.
No, I think the positioning of bringing someone like you into this environment, Tash, is to authentically showcase what it is and what it means to be a C-level executive. People see the mantle, right, and put people on
Not a
this
mantle.
mantle, and I think it's
Yeah, let
important.
me tell you, it's not that.
Yeah, where's my
Standing here
where's
telling
my
you it's not.
mantle?
I also thought it was that. It's
That's
not that.
that's. But this
It's
is
an
the
honor.
reality,
You
and I
cannot
think
say it's not an honor. I don't wanna come across as ungrateful, and I don't want to dissuade anyone from trying to achieve it, but it's definitely not this is not the gold medal at the Olympics, guys. It's not it.
yeah, exactly, and this is what I want to I want to make sure that we're highlighting from this is that it isn't all bells and roses and daisies, right? It's tough at the top, and I think everyone's aware of that. But there's a lot of affinity with the challenges that people have along the way, and some of these things that happen along the way can diminish that dream. And I just think it's really important to show that you have to show that resilience and that self-confidence and that ability to push yourself outside your comfort zone to achieve,
Absolutely.
right?
The same way we're pushing organizations to be cyber resilient. And what does resiliency mean? It doesn't mean implement a zero trust and never have an incident. That's not what it means. It means standing up
Mm,
from an incident the next day with barely a roasty on your leg or a scrape on your knee. That's what resiliency means.
yeah.
It's the same thing in this role. You have to be resilient in taking 500 no's before you get a yes. And I think that that's probably something that my sales career has given me. I mean, I started my job doing telesales to the Irish. Nobody is worse
Yeah.
than the Irish at saying no. You get sworn at 500 times before you get maybe one yes. So you have to be built to take the no's. And I think that that's what this job is. When you are
Agreed.
living in incidents and being attacked 500 times in a minute every day all day and still having to see the wood from the trees, that's how you do it. You have to
Mhm.
get up, and your knees get scraped every day, but you have to get up and you have to get yourself up. Nobody's going to get you up for you. I think that's the other part of this is we always
Mm,
assume somebody else's responsibility. It's somebody else's. My company will recognize me. No, you must go and put your name at the front of the line. That's what you've got to do. You've got to get up and you've got to do it your
mm,
damn self. And you've got to take it seriously. Do your own self learning. Be passionate about this job. Be passionate about wanting to make a
mm,
difference. That's going to keep you going for life. It's a tough job. It's definitely not an easy job, and it's not all sunshine and roses at the top. It's hard work, a lot of pressure. You have to really know what you're talking about to be good at this and to stay here, and to be
mm.
and a mentor. And that's something that I had a lot of those.
Amazing, amazing. No, you're right. All those points will resonate, and they resonate with me. Telesales, same thing, right? I love a no because it gives me an opportunity to turn it into a yes, and that's not salesy. That's like understanding why someone's saying a no to you and appreciating why they're saying a no and giving a no. I think that's
Yeah,
how I've managed to get where we are with the alliances, right? Because I'm fearless when it comes to rejection. And it's a great trait to have because I can't
exactly.
remember the last time I blushed when someone said no. And it's great. You remember those first no's and you're blushing and your blood's getting warmer and you're getting shivers down your back and you feel like a bit of a lemon. They are perfect for your career development and your personal development.
One of my
Embrace
bosses
them,
said, no
welcome them,
doesn't
have
mean
them.
no, it just means not right now. And I mean that only in a career
Yeah.
sense, right? I'm very conscious that that might be taken in
Yeah.
the wrong way, but no
Yeah.
doesn't mean no, just
Fair.
means not right now.
Good, good caveat. I like paying it forward, and I'm conscious of time here. Um, how are you paying it forward aside from sharing your time with a platform like this, which I hope people will benefit from? But how does Tash pay it forward? How are you passing the ladder back down?
So some things I'm not great at is I'm not great at doing it in the formal committees. So I try very hard to, when asked, do as many speaking slots as I can. But I
Mm.
think from a capacity perspective, I'm not as good as it as others, and I definitely am not on enough of the women in cyber forums. So self-admittedly, there are things I can do better. But the way I pay it forward is I am currently mentoring about 13 different human beings, and that is
Wow.
yeah, I try my hardest to meet all of those at least once a month. Some of them are only once every 6 weeks. It's what happened for me in my career. I was able to set up breakfasts with most of my mentors once a month, once every 6 weeks. And that's what I try to do. So it's not an advertised place, but I've got 13 at the moment. And it's coaching them through, some of it is career mentorship, some of it is interpersonal challenges, some of it is how to do conversations, some of it is critical thinking, some of it is introducing them to different networks. But a lot of it is around cybersecurity and career progression. So that's the way I do it. And I try and push my own staff to entrench themselves into the community, something that I was consumed in. So I ensure that they get baked into the community where there are people that do it better than me. That's it. Yeah.
Fair. And on that point then, mentors, I know some of your mentors, and I know from that's how we met actually. Is there people, platforms, entities that you'd like to show a bit of recognition to on this platform? Because it's always nice to get a recognition when you've committed some time to people. Is there anyone in particular, or platforms, or anyone you want to mention as a bit of a thank you for helping you? Because it's you that's got you here. But is there anyone in particular that you want to thank?
Yeah, man, I'm careful because I really don't want to leave anybody out. And we spoke about this actually earlier. But if I speak to Hollis, I mean, Lee, you have been fundamental in some of this, right? In maintaining the community, in sharing the updates, and also not giving us too hard a time about not being able to attend everything. So you definitely, a huge thank you to you, to the CISO Alliances for all the effort that you do, because I think it also changes the face of the security culture in South Africa, which is beyond critical. We are one of the most targeted, but we're also one of the strongest from a community perspective, and that's been recognized globally. Other community, forums would be things like the Team 8 in Israel. I was very blessed to have some of them take a personal ownership. Things like IT Web Security Summit, a bit of a competitor here, but I've been given a lot of opportunity at those kind of platforms, ISMG Media and RSA Conference. In terms of the most impactful place would be my mentors and my coaches. And I can say, without leaving anybody off, the big five were fundamental. Their financial services was my account patch as a salesperson. So the big five were my big mentors, and they still today. Most of them are still the CISOs there. One of them, unfortunately, now lives in Bahrain. And then also, more importantly, is my personal life coaches. I've had a life coach, Ken Jarvis. Some may love him, some may hate him. He was my coach for the last 15 years. I met him at Secure Data. They were a security distributor. And he's been my life coach for the last 15 years. He was the CIO at APSA, CIO at SARS at one point. And then over global internationals, I've had Sam Curry, who was the CISO for Cybereason, currently CISO for Zscaler. I've been very fortunate in my career with some of those. But to every single person, every single staff member that I've worked with in all my careers, every single colleague, every single leader, every single customer, every single supplier, every single person has played a fundamental journey into my career, because I like to pay attention and I like to listen. And I think if you do that, if you pay attention and you listen, my one boss, Kevin Smith, used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should take the cotton wool out of your ears and put them in your mouth to pay attention more. So I would definitely say that's something that I try to do as much to my ability to use that for later lessons in life. So yeah, just thank you very much to every single person, including my husband.
Amazing. Yeah, yes, don't forget the
I
personal
told you I was
support
going
network.
to get someone.
No, I didn't expect you to thank me and the alliances as well, so I appreciate that. That wasn't scripted, so yeah, thank you. But no, I think what people don't realize is it's the same thing for myself, right? The everything I put my time into and everything I want to be passionate about gets shaped by the conversations that I have, and it's an honor that people share their time and share their thoughts with you on a personal standpoint and a personal basis to develop and make things better. And I think what South Africa has taught the rest of the alliances communities, because it did start in South Africa, is that we can be better together and progress quicker together, and have that that unity for better progression. And I think South Africa started that for me and for the alliances especially, and I think there's been improvements across the board with that. So yeah, it's great. It is great to see. But Tash, thank you very much. I'm super grateful for the time. I know there's a lot going on. And for our listeners, I hope they appreciated your authenticity on the platform. So
Yeah, I don't know
yeah,
how
thank
much
you very
value it
much.
was, but thank you very much. And thank you to everybody else for at least giving me a chance to say some of the things I'm passionate about.
Amazing. Nice one, Tash. Take care, eh?
Thanks.